The Spot Track Podcast, talking sports contracts, the salary cap, and business of sports.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Spot Track Podcast. It's Kevin Sylvester along with Paul Peck and the founder of SpotTrack.com, Mike Giannetti. We're brought to you by Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment, giving professional athletes and entertainers knowledge they need to make informed decisions about their finances and wealth, where to donate. We'll talk about that later in the show. Learn more by visiting morganstanley.com/GSE. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, a member, SIPC. Good morning. Well, I say good morning, gentlemen. Some people listen to this at midnight.
That's
what do you
right.
mean good morning?
Yes.
But good morning.
Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you may be across this wonderful world listening to this podcast, gearing up for an NFL football season, which thankfully is inching closer to reality.
We're going to talk football, a lot of football today. I almost bet on a preseason game.
Oh, Kevin.
Well, isn't that the way to do it? That at least makes it watchable, right?
Well, this was when I was in New Jersey. I almost bet on a preseason because
I've been thinking about trying to get you professional help for some other things, but now that's the last straw.
Well,
are you talking straight bet or like a DFS?
No, I'm talking like a bet on one of the sports books.
Okay,
because you could do it. New Jersey has it legal, and before I did it, I was like,
You felt dirty already.
Well, you know what? I'm like, this is a slippery slope, man, because if I'm betting preseason football, that's the first indicator of a problem. So then I thought baseball.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, Mike's not with me, so I'm not going to, because the baseball bets are a little different, right? I mean,
You're in New Jersey and you didn't bet the Mets on this run? Come on.
I should have.
Man.
Should have.
I'm trying to knock on wood and not say too much, but holy cats.
Yeah, they've, hopefully. So then I bet on golf and won a few bucks. Okay. Which golf season's wind down. We'll talk a little more golf. It was my hint later, but let's get to some NFL burning questions here through the preseason. And number one here,
if you have burning questions
that
in
was
the
a little bit.
preseason, you might want to see a medical
That was
professional.
somewhat sarcastic.
well, it's more of it's like a jock itch burn. Okay,
there you go. Much better. Yes.
To go with the summer heat and training camp. Anyhow, the Colts, should they get another quarterback? Andrew Luck is still rehabbing. We've got a few weeks to go here. Calf injuries are everybody's. As soon as you have a calf injury now, we think Achilles.
Yes.
Based upon what happened with Kevin Durant.
Particularly when they linger that long, because calf injuries in the past were a calf injury, sore muscle. I remember Aaron Rodgers had one a couple years ago, and it wasn't, it was a calf injury. So, but now every calf injury, particularly if it goes more than 2 weeks, people start wondering what else it may be, and could it be worse?
I mean, they've come out and said he's rehabbing right now. He's not even close to ready, right? And we've seen this before with Andrew Luck. That neck injury, was it the neck?
Shoulder,
right. Sort of neck too.
Shoulder,
right?
sort of neck. Yeah. Went to Europe for treatment.
Didn't that take like 7 weeks more than people anticipated?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's just maybe one of those guys, right? And this team is ready to win. They're like the fourth best Super Bowl odds right now, according to Vegas. This team is built to win. They're built to win.
But are those the fourth best odds
because
with
of
Luck as the quarterback?
But that's my point. If they're ready, if they feel like it's okay just to use Jacoby Brissett, fine. But shouldn't they be at least considering a better option?
See,
right
I'm
now?
hung up on the word should, because to me, it's not a matter of should. To me, it's not a matter of should. You have a somewhat respectable backup who has played games and won some of them before. Nobody's calling Jacoby Brissett an all-pro. But what else are you? Where else are you going, Mike? What else are you? Is there anybody out there that you think you can get that's better, that's going to come into the Colts offense cold and be any better in the regular season than what you have now with Brissett? And the offshoot of all that is, if the Colts are as good as we think they are and you think they are, then they should be good enough to do some other things to not have to rely on Brissett to be the one to carry the load to help them win games.
They have to, though. You look at their offense, they run more plays than anybody else, right? They do it by numbers.
Speed, yep.
They flood you with passing plays, play after play after play after play. So, I agree with you. Right now, the best person is Brissett.
There's nobody else.
Well, but if Luck's got an issue, you have to bring somebody else in case something happens to Brissett.
Well, but that's every team in the NFL is sort of trying to figure that out as well, too. There's 20 good quarterbacks in the world, which means there's a lot of teams that still don't have starters and certainly are worried about their backups.
Let's use our hometown team here just as an example. Wasn't it a couple of years ago? It was like, who the hell was playing quarterback for these guys?
Sure.
I mean, No, seriously, didn't they have like 7 different starters the one year?
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, Joe Jabroni off the field. Right? Yeah, I mean, they brought Orton back, and he was like, yes.
See,
you got to avoid that.
I always go back to the thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, my point in bringing this up is if the Colts knew they were ready to win, and we all know they're ready to win, is there any disagreement there?
No,
this is a top 5 team in the league right now, I think.
They are a sexy pick,
sure,
with a healthy Andrew Luck.
I'm not ready to put them in the top 5 yet. I think they're in the next 5. Yeah, I do. I think there are better teams. I think we can come up easily with 5 better teams.
I
than
think
the Colts
Vegas
right
has
now.
this right. They're the 3rd best team in the AFC right now.
Go ahead. What are the five other teams that are
Patriots,
better? Chiefs,
the Chiefs, the Rams, the Saints, and the Bears. Right off the top of my head.
All right.
Okay, well done.
Bears are arguable, but I think it's similar between the two teams. But the point is they're at least contenders. Contenders need to have depth. They just need to have depth. They should be all in on whatever that 1 to 2 year window of contention is. And they must think Jacoby Brissett can handle an 8-week game load because it looks like he might have to, right? I mean, there's going to be an in and out situation with Andrew Luck here, in my opinion. If this Achilles is weak, they're going to have to slow play this back. We know how this is. Yeah. This is not I'm all better now, right? I think Tyrod Taylor is a better option, by the way, Paul.
No.
Tyrod Taylor
will fight you to the death.
No way.
Tyrod Taylor, he doesn't have to go downfield with this team. Because of the way they play. They're a slow dink and dunk, play fast kind of team. That's Tyrod Taylor's bread and butter.
I'll disagree with you on that.
Really?
Yeah. I thought Tyrod Taylor, his best performance passing when he had Watkins, when Watkins was healthy, throwing the deep ball.
Sure.
I thought Taylor struggled throwing in between the tackles to the tight ends and the dink and dunks. And I think there's plenty of times where he didn't throw because he didn't want to turn the football over.
Yeah. You're right. You're right about that.
You have Case Keenum. I think Case Keenum will be better on this list than Tyrod Taylor for a passing offense. If you want to play small ball, if you will.
That Vikings offense was similar, wasn't
it? Yes.
Yeah.
Open. I think he would be a better choice for the Colts than Tyrod Taylor.
All right, you put me on the spot there with the 5 better teams. I want to put
you already named 5.
I'm going to put you on the spot now, right off the top of your head. Name me 5 better backup quarterbacks than Jacoby Brissett.
Well, I think Chase Daniel.
What's Chase Daniel's played like 6 games in his career?
He's played enough.
Hold on a second. This show is taking a turn. If we're ranking backup quarterbacks,
I'm not trying to put Mike on the spot. My point is that
I think Matt Barkley's better here.
is that they're all the same. Every backup quarterback pretty much in the NFL is all the same. Most of them have never played, have never really shown that they have the ability to come in cold and lead a team to victory, which is why the old sort of, what you hear in the NFL is let my backup quarterback be able to keep me at 500 over a 3 or 4 game stretch. That's what general managers will tell you.
I'll give you one, and every team in the league had a chance to get him. Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is the best backup quarterback in football right now.
Yeah, but you're
might be a starter.
Yeah, and they had a chance to get him, and that's my
most
point.
people would have were at the Dolphins, and most fans were happy to have run him out of Miami because he wasn't ever good enough.
But Andrew Luck was hurt in March. He was hurt during free agency. They knew this was coming. They knew they had to address the situation. They didn't. So they either loved Jacoby Brissett or they missed on this.
I got to think they love.
Because they brought in Chad Kelly to be the third quarterback.
I got to think they love Jacoby Brissett. And he's been in their system long enough. He started games for them, not always hugely successful. They weren't a very good team when he started those 16, 15 games in 2017. Sure. But he's been in their system long enough. He comes from New England. He played a little bit there. I think the point I'm trying to make here is Jacoby Brissett is mostly like every other NFL backup quarterback, maybe even in the upper echelon of NFL backup quarterbacks, which is you don't really know how good they are. They've never really shown how good they are, and nobody has any real idea whether they can be a long-term successful quarterback or not. So if those are all the things that an NFL team sort of looks at that position and says, the Colts are going, well, the guy's been here. He knows our system. He's the players know him. He's played games for us. He's won some games for us. Okay. So I don't know why you would think there's a better option.
Let me give you one more situation. The Eagles lose 2 third and fourth string quarterbacks in preseason.
Well, one of them was second.
And pulled Josh McCown off a couch for $2 million. He's a better backup than Jacoby Brissett, in my opinion. The Colts had the chance to get him. He was sitting home.
Have you seen what Josh McCown's career record is?
look at he's.
See again,
But I put
how
his
are we
experience up
basing
against
this?
anything.
You're basing this on guys that have started in the league and have played, and I'm telling you, there's a reason why they're backups now. They were never good enough to be starters. So why do you think that they're any better than the whole other core of guys?
Paul's got a good point on that one. I understand your point too, Mike. I just know that you both have coffee cups from the same place. Paul definitely got the double shot in his.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, let's move on.
No, the last thing is, I love talking about this because there's always, a little bit.
That's right. Yeah. I'm just going to walk off the set here.
There's always a perception by fans that there's somebody else better out there. And my point that I'm
That's
trying
the
to tell
beauty
people,
of it, though.
But my point that I'm trying to tell people is there usually isn't anybody better out there.
Well, sometimes there are, though. That's the beauty of the discussion and the debate. All right. By the way, Colts have $43 million in cap space.
They do.
If they want to do something, or need to do something for that matter, and they wouldn't have to spend a lot of it, frankly. Right? I mean,
no.
Taylor and Keenum. What the going rate's now? $2 million.
Right.
Yeah. The Cowboys, as Mike has phrased the question, what the hell should the Cowboys do?
It's sort of a similar conversation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a top 10 team with everybody there.
Yeah, they should be on pay. Yeah. Yes, absolutely, they should be. They did sign their pass rusher.
Yeah.
All right. So he signed, but now they've got other positions they have to worry about with contracts moving forward. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at backup positions. Cooper Rush didn't make your top 5 backup quarterbacks, Paul.
Although, he did not. But does anybody really know whether he,
no. And they hope not. Great name, Cooper Rush. I mean, right? I mean, that's up there. But, what should they do? I think it's all about trying to figure out if they're going to pay 3 guys, right?
Right.
Well, Dak, Zeke, and Amari.
Essentially, it's 4, right? The point here is they did pay the pass rusher this year.
Right.
Generally, teams don't go and pay another big position after doing that because DeMarcus Lawrence is making $21 million a year.
Right.
So it's not normal. It wouldn't be normal for the Cowboys to go all in, even though we've talked about that at length on this show.
It's the QB. They got to pay the QB.
Do they?
Yeah. Well,
I wonder about this now.
I'm mostly surprised they haven't done anything this preseason.
Do you think they're just slow playing this whole thing? Nobody has to get signed right now. Dak's under contract.
And you can
Zeke's
franchise
got 2 more years, and Amari's got 1 more year.
Yeah, well, so here's.
Do you think they want to stagger it? Is my point.
I think they have to stagger it.
Yeah,
I think they have to stagger it. I think they maybe want to see Dak play with a chip on his shoulder about a contract.
I thought about that too.
Right,
a little Joe Flacco. Right,
sure. Play a little pissed off. Let's see how you do.
Yeah,
go out and prove yourself. Go earn it. You're not just getting it because you're due. It's your contract.
Dak Prescott's not holding out, and Jerry Jones knows that.
Right. I think Dax is a pretty good quarterback, and I think he still has more room to go to hit his potential.
Doesn't it feel a little like Kirk Cousins, where nobody was super surprised that he got the free agency?
To me, it does.
Right.
And you know what else I thought about? Here's what I thought about. I read an article in College Football Preview magazine just this past week, and the article was sort of focused on this next generation and wave of young quarterbacks that are coming, and how they're starting earlier with the tutors, and they're Trevor Lawrence is an NFL scout quarterback. He can come in the NFL right now and play right now, and he's the next Andrew Luck, and he's still got 2 more years at Clemson to go. So you start to put lists of names together. We know Tonga Vailoa and Justin Herbert from Oregon are coming out likely this year. You've got Trevor Lawrence 2 years, 3 years down the road. Next 2 years, you got Fromm from
Hurts
Georgia.
Play,
So here I'm going to spin this back to the Cowboys. There's a growing list, and again, there's no guarantees the guy's ever going to be NFL, but there are really high level prospects. And now I'm going to spin it back to the Cowboys, where maybe somebody in Dallas is going, are we going to pay this guy that we kind of think is okay, but not great, when we see the possibility of some greatness coming down the road? But if we're going to lock in on a 5-year deal with Dak Prescott, now we're not going to be in a position to draft Fromm or Herbert or Dexter or Trevor Lawrence down the road. I wonder about that.
Well, and frankly, Dak Prescott feeds into that because he came in and and played well out of college. You look at Mahomes, in his second year.
The turnover is incredible.
We'll look at Allen with the Bills and Darnold with the Jets, who
Mayfield.
looked pretty good in preseason.
Yeah.
That was the game I almost bet.
Mayfield, Trubisky, Wentz.
Right.
Everybody's young.
So to that point,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay huge dollars if the guys.
I wonder if that's not part of this.
Paul, I wonder how many teams are in that boat right now. Even if they have a quarterback.
I think
how many
a lot.
teams are starting to plan out for 2
But
3
think
years?
about it. What's
Gotta
fun?
be half the teams in the
Half
league,
of them,
right?
almost half the teams have drafted quarterbacks in the last 4 years.
Sure.
Like, I mean, you just rattled off a whole bunch of names. We're coming to a very interesting scenario. You've got the Brees and the Bradys and the Rivers of the world that are already getting up to the 40-year-old and are at some point gonna drop off. And then you've got the Mariotas and the Winstons who were high picks but have never lived up to it. So those teams have got to be pretty close to saying, you know what, it's time to go to the next one. And the quarterback class in the NFL in the next 3 years could be incredibly different.
We'll get to it, actually.
Yeah.
I've kind of broken it out.
The other part of that is the more the NFL goes towards the college spread offense,
That's right.
the more these players are prepared to play.
The transition's easier.
And it's becoming like goaltenders in hockey.
That's right.
Unless you have one of the 5 elite guys, everybody else is just a guy. They all play the same style. They can come in and play for you. You just need to catch someone who plays great.
How many people
right?
are sitting at their TVs this year staring at Kyler Murray, hoping it doesn't work? If Kyler Murray works out, the game has changed.
Yeah.
Guys like Wentz, guys like Winston and Mariota and Goff, they don't need to get paid.
What's the definition of workout mean?
If they win. Right?
Okay.
If
they win and
what else matters?
And he plays really well.
But they could lose and he plays well.
I don't know. Isn't everything following the quarterback now?
I'm going
does.
to violate my rule of paying too much attention to the preseason, but I thought it was very interesting what the Raiders did to him in their last game. That is the model of what a good defensive coordinator is going to go, all right, you're going to run this thing, you're going to run this air raid, you're going to clap your hands and all that stuff.
Yep.
I'm going to blitz the you-know-what out of you because you're not leaving enough blockers in. Let's see how you handle it. And he couldn't. And he didn't, and they didn't. So, again, preseason, we'll see what happens in the regular season, but I thought there was a glimpse of what the defensive people that are tired of getting beat up by everything is about offense these days in the NFL are saying, wait a minute, we got some stuff ready for you air raiders.
All right, let's move on to what is happening. You mentioned the Raiders. All right, so how many helmet companies right now are trying to develop a helmet that will satisfy Antonio Brown?
I mean, it's got to happen, right?
I would hope none of them
There's
are.
got to be a happy
I would hope
medium.
none of them are. I would hope the ones that are doing it now are going, what we're doing now is appeals to 99.9% of the players in the league and passes all the rules. Who's going out there to spend research and development money to try to keep that knucklehead happy?
All right, so this is the reason I bring it up. I really don't want to get on the, he's crazy train right now. I think that ship has sailed. But he claims that there's blind spots in those helmets. That's what he's claiming.
There's a blind spot. You ever worn a helmet?
I have.
Yeah,
but he
there's
claims
blind
that
spots
there's
in every
new
helmet.
blind spots, right, that he's not used to that's going to make his game suffer. Why is he the only wide receiver in football saying
Did
this?
you read Peter King's column on Monday where he actually had the guys at that Vices company do tests on it, and they actually have a peripheral vision test with light through a helmet to determine where the peripheral vision, because I assume that's what Antonio Brown is talking a little bit about, and apparently it's the peripheral vision is better with the new helmets based on science and the measure of what peripheral vision is than the one that he was using before.
Of course it is. What do you think? We're going to make a worse helmet? He acts like they got him Sir Lancelot's helmet from the joust, right? Back in the medieval times with the 2 little eye slits there so he can look out. No.
Or in Monty Python and the Holy Grail when he used to flip up.
Right, yes. They have shields now. I mean, there's all these advancements that they've made to protect him, and he's trying to say it doesn't fit him right.
Let's not dwell on this. Is this just I don't want to play in the preseason?
Absolutely.
That's what all this is, right?
Yes.
Rodgers, all
and
this
is just I'm Antonio Brown and I like the attention.
Yeah. But here's why doesn't he just say that to Mike Mayock? Like Mike Mayock's out yesterday.
I know.
Right? This is a Tuesday we're recording. He's either all in or all out. I'm like,
which is what that means, right?
Right. Why don't you just go say to him like, hey, Mike, I don't need to play in the preseason.
Yeah.
I need to get my feet better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine.
But this has never been about even playing in the preseason because nobody plays in the preseason
it's
anymore.
Also about practicing.
It may be, and you may be right about that. But I don't think this is. I don't want to play. I just think this is what you get with Antonio Brown. And if it wasn't the helmet, it would be something else.
This is the old Bruce Smith hamstring strain.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah. Ooh, ouch.
That's what,
2 days before camp starts. My knee's a little
Bruce
sore.
isn't practicing. He'll be fine. Because
Yeah.
you know what? Bruce doesn't need to practice.
I think Brett Favre just started showing up in jeans when he turned 30. He's like,
Well, he had that Wranglers deal.
yeah,
So,
he's not. It was. He just made it obvious when he walked in. I'm not playing today.
It's attention also. Antonio Brown likes attention.
Yeah.
He's getting attention here, and the attention's on his helmet, not his feet.
I'm worried about his feet. We've talked about this.
Yeah. Well,
I'm worried.
Did you? So last week we talked about. I watched the episode, and about his feet. And he's like laughing about it, and you see it, and I don't know. They're like it looks like they're going to be able to. The new skin's growing. The trainer's like, oh, that's good. The pink, that's fine. It's growing back.
That's so weird.
It is.
This is all selfish, by the way. He's on my dynasty fantasy team.
I noticed his feet are flat though. Like it looks like he's
You
got
did
flat
say
feet.
that.
Yes.
And his toes were sort of really oddly shaped and weird looking. That's
too
what
early
jumped
for this
out at me.
conversation.
They actually went to they went to Rex Ryan to get that information.
Oh, bump.
Here we go. Final
Which
question.
he joked about, by the way, on his show. Did you see that? He referenced something about feet, and
Did he really?
Sam Ponder lost it.
Oh,
she's sitting next to him and almost fell off her chair. That he joked about it. Okay, listen, Antonio Brown's too good. I just can't. There's too much money at stake. Correct?
Yeah, this season just got to start.
Right. There's just too
They're
much
not
money.
going to trade him. He's not going to retire. Let's
Right.
just get this
He'll
season
be there
going.
week 1. It'll be.
I think, unless his feet are really bad.
The Dolphins. Are the Dolphins doing too much here? Because financially speaking, they're where they want to be, right?
They're last.
They're last, right?
Yeah, nobody's spending less than the Dolphins, which is the point here.
Right. They have $30 million of wide receivers.
Veteran wide receivers.
Right.
That's what scares me. There's like 4 legitimate wide receivers on that roster, and Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing them the ball. That usually equals like 7 wins, right?
Yes.
We've seen that before. Maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, I would be a little
Paul,
closer to 5.
Paul, but my point is 5 is probably too much. If they're trying to be terrible for all the quarterback reasons you've said, right? For all this, young blood that's coming up, I think 5 wins is too much. I think the Bengals might win 2.
It's so hard to control all of that in the NFL, I think. It's hard to control it in any team factor because how does a coach stand up in front of the team and ask for their best effort and ask for them to try hard when someone in the back of their mind is saying, I hope we only win 2 games this year, or and again, it's the whole, Mike, you look at it as they're not spending any money, which means they're purposefully doing that, and I can look at it and tell you that's how you rebuild now. The model is there that when you rebuild, you rip it all the way down. You get rid of all your high-priced guys because they don't make that much of a difference. So you go in with a lot of young guys. A new coach wants to play younger players. You suck it up. So your cap number is going to be low, but it's all part of a rebuilding
But the
plan.
only thing that matters is the quarterback. And
Sure.
to get the quarterback, you got to have the number 1 draft pick. I mean, that's just it.
But how can you control the difference between 2 wins and 5 wins?
Play Rosen.
Not spend 30,
That's part of it.
not sign Albert Wilson and Kenny Stills and Alan Hearns to start and let Devontae Parker walk rather than restructure him. That's what they did.
Well, let me ask you this question: if they planned on why even trade for Rosen? I mean, I joke, but he has potential. Rosen. I mean, this is a guy who was a first-round pick last year. You can argue how much of a chance he's given in Arizona or not.
Right.
He's got a little chip on his shoulder. Some would argue he had one coming into the NFL, that he was traded as a first-round pick. To me, if you play him, like Fitz is the starter, you'd think to start the season, but to me, no, you play Rosen. You play the young guy because if you don't have any expectations, you
know
play
what
him.
you're going to get out of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I actually
Correct.
think they're going to play Rosen.
I think they should play him.
And the reason to get him is why anybody would have got him, right? We think maybe he could be a 10-year starter.
He could be. Find out.
If that's the case, then you don't need to do everything to get the number 1 pick, right? Then you can sort of rebuild on the fly, which is a way better way to do it. Teams like the Chiefs and Eagles have done that recently, but it doesn't appear that's the case. Right? I mean, Rosen has really not separated himself.
So to me, you play him to see,
I think so.
see if anything happens, and if it doesn't,
You win 3 games.
Right. You do what he did in Arizona to get the first pick.
Totally.
And then you move on from him.
This is one of my favorite stats. And granted, we both, Kevin and I, being here in Buffalo, have had a chance to get to know Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's an awesome guy. He's a guy that everybody wants on their team. He embraces a team. The guys love him. But that only takes you so far. I want you guys to take a stab at what Ryan Fitzpatrick's career starting quarterback record is.
His career record.
Or at least give me an idea of how many games under 500 it might be.
Is it under?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt it's under. I'm going to say he's... Boy, how many games has he started?
He has started 126 games.
He's won 40 games.
No.
You're low on that, but not by a lot.
It's 50?
50, 75, and 1. So, again, back to where we started this conversation about backup quarterbacks. He's a backup quarterback who shouldn't be starting, who has started 126 career games, and the results have been applicable.
Okay.
So honestly, I could make the argument, and just because I had too much espresso this morning,
no
maybe
kidding.
I will, that if you really want to tank it out, you play Fitz and not Josh Rosen. Because Josh Rosen is a first-round pick with a lot of talent who has the chance to develop and get pretty good and probably better than Fitz will ever be. You play Fitz 16 games, you're going 5-11.
Okay. I'm in.
Has he made $1 million per win in his career?
Oh, easily.
Right?
Easily.
He's made about $50 million, I think, with this last contract.
Well, then he's made more than that because he's been playing forever.
He's been playing forever. Yeah. No.
Career earnings, Ryan Fitzpatrick, $58 million.
Okay.
He can make another 5.5 this year.
Think
he's
about
go
that.
Over $60 million.
Over $1 million a win.
Yeah, he
Wow.
does not have an over 500 record with any team he's been on. Only 6-6 with Houston. Every other team he's ever been on is under 500 as a starting quarterback.
Okay. Well,
there you go. That's the reason to watch the Dolphins this year.
I still think they play Rosen.
Me too, for everything, all the reasons you said. Yeah.
All right, we're still some more NFL here, and we're going to talk about. Oh no, we got one more.
One more.
These 5.
Burning
We did 4 burning questions, although we added like 7 of them in there. Why aren't teams going at the Redskins with a trade offer for Trent Williams?
Going big,
right?
Obviously,
big
teams are calling, but they're sending him away. But why isn't a team like the Jets or the Bills, who are in that window with this young quarterback, who they need help? I mean,
he's got 2 years, $24 million left on his deal.
Yeah, the deal's fine. You can probably restructure it with a little signing bonus to keep him happy. That generally happens in a trade.
He's 31. He's an offensive lineman. He's probably got a good another 6-7 years in him.
I don't think the player is the problem. It's you got to pry him away from the Redskins because he's a good player.
Right.
And you don't get rid of left tackles unless you have to. But why? Somebody should really step up with a huge offer here, right? Am I wrong?
He's had a little history of some injuries over his career, right? 31 years old. Again, that goes against everything that we talk about as the NFL model of you don't invest in guys that are on that side of their career.
But if you're going to win,
that position, experience matters, right?
It matters.
There's a tipping point with it, though, Mike. Experience matters up until a point when it becomes diminishing returns.
Of course. But we're only talking about 2 years here.
But look at the Rams, right? They had an older offensive lineman went to the Super Bowl. Yeah. So I think the Rams are an example of, hey,
Whitworth, Saffold, they were all old on that.
You go and get experienced offensive linemen.
Yeah.
In the National Football League, and especially to protect your. But the argument against that is a team that actually won the Super Bowl is the Patriots. They don't pay left tackles.
No,
they let them go.
Yeah, but the Eagles had Jason Peters. The Rams had Andrew Whitworth. I mean, there's
a
bit of a trend here in the last 3 years.
Listen, if you had if I'm the Colt, you have cap space.
Yeah,
I'd be entertaining this for sure. Because giving up, what do you got to give up? Second rounder.
Look at Houston, Buffalo, and the Jets. 3 teams I would identify right off the bat that could do this. All have a ton of cap space.
And Houston's offensive line has been an issue for years.
They're going to roll with Matt Khalil. Talk about injury history, right? I mean,
so the issue is, what do you got to give up? And if Washington's even willing to listen to offers. The second is, what do you got to give up? And again, that's where you've got to say, if I have to give up a first or a second round pick for a 31-year-old offensive tackle with some history of injuries, you have to look at it. We're looking at it in a bubble of, here's a left tackle. He might be available. These teams need left tackles. Why aren't they trading for him? you got to look at what the return is going to be, and you have to juggle that again in a day and age in the NFL where draft picks can be gold. Where again, if all positions, including offensive tackle, are closer to being ready to play quicker than they ever have been before because of the nature of the way college is.
With the teams I mentioned, I think that's a moot point because none of the quarterbacks cost any money right now, and for the next 2 and 3 years for those 3 teams respectively, you can overpay at other positions. So if you're paying your left tackle $12 million a year for 2 years while your quarterback's making $3 million, which all those quarterbacks are, to me that's the right way to do it. This is the window to go and spend on an edge rusher and a left tackle and a wide receiver 1 if you have to, because that's the window of quarterback money you're in. So that's why I've identified those 3 teams. Sam Darnold looks like he might be a superstar. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, he's looked really good.
He's looked polished, clean, and he looked great last year.
I thought he looked great last year.
He was just there wasn't a timing. The things weren't
enough
clicking
around him last year either.
From a fundamental standpoint, I think he's a superstar, and I'm not sure Kelvin Beachum is a strong enough left tackle to hold his fort. The Jets should be all in on this because it's an upgrade, even if it's just for 2 years and it's a lot of money. It's an upgrade.
I can't argue anything.
Can't argue.
What's the cost, Paul? Do you have to go a second and maybe a second and a fifth?
Probably.
A second and a fifth.
What's the cost of protecting
for 2 years?
What's the cost of protecting Sam Darnold?
That's right.
Right.
For 2 years.
Priceless. That's what it is. All right, we're going to talk about quarterbacks now. And
not that we already haven't.
No, but now there's contractual tiers. We brushed it on a little earlier with Dak Prescott. Yeah. Do you pay him?
This is something new I created. We've been seeing this from like a fantasy perspective, right? The different tiers of the position to sort of understand how you should only draft Ezekiel Elliott in these rounds because he's a tier 1 running back, but Derrick Henry's a tier 4 running back, so you should wait till the 5th. Right? The fantasy geeks have been all over this, right? And it's been actually really effective. I mean, it sort of allows you to lay out your draft if you follow one of those tiers. But I sort of identified that we can do this with contracts. Right, because these guys are in these windows we've talked about, and there's all these different elements of the contract now that are coming into focus, and it's letting GMs rely on certain things. For instance, we talked about the Bills and the Jets, and Houston and the Browns and the Ravens, who have these young quarterbacks. They can do other things that maybe the Patriots and the Packers and the Seahawks can't because their quarterbacks cost $30 million a year, right? So when you tier the quarterbacks the way I've done it, which is can't even be paid. Baker Mayfield can't even get more money. Josh Allen can't get more money. Darnold can't get more money. They're ineligible until 3 years of experience, which is after next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're
ineligible for an extension. They can't be signed to extension.
Their rookie contract. You can't even touch them. Even if Josh Allen's phenomenal, you can't give him money right now.
Gotcha.
Right? Just from a CBA standpoint.
Which I'm sure breaks teams' hearts. We'd love to give you more, but we can't.
Sam
Well,
Darnold
they know they're going to have to, so it's just
coming.
postponing that.
It's coming.
That can's kicked down the road. They know when.
But it's important to recognize that, even as just a casual fan, because this is the time those teams should be spending money. Right? This is the time to go and build and try to catch lightning in a bottle. Because, like I said, if Sam Darnold has the year, or Baker Mayfield has the year people expect him to have. If there are pieces around him, I think a lot of people think the Browns can win the division, right?
They're a sexy
I'm not sure
pick.
I'm one of them, but a lot of people think that can happen. So that's why you saw the Browns go and get a Beckham Jr. and just dominate the defenses. I mean, the Jets and the Browns defense should be ridiculous.
So those 5 quarterbacks ineligible for an extension are Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, and Kyler Murray with the Cardinals. So they're locked in until 2020, after 2020.
And then Murray's
2021.
Yeah.
2020 for the first 4, and then who came out in this year's draft, Kyler Murray.
Exactly.
2021. Those that have extension eligibility, there's 3 of them.
Yep.
And
after 2019. So they're playing one more year, and then you can sign them, which is going to be notable, right?
Yeah, well, Patrick Mahomes should break the bank for sure. Deshaun Watson will be interesting.
And Trubisky. I think those two are sort of like, fun to watch because right now they're about $30 million quarterbacks, but, if they're going to be signing contracts the same time as Patrick Mahomes, who's going to get 40,
Right.
They're going to get 38, right? If they're worth it.
And their teams, particularly in the case of the Bears, have pretty high expectations to be good this year. How much does Trubisky play a role in that will determine exactly what he's going to get and how quickly they're going to move to sign him.
There is one player you call rookie contract limbo. As quarterback.
Jared Goff is on an island right now because he can be signed, right? I mean, he was drafted the same draft as Carson Wentz, who got his money, and Dak Prescott, who we think will get his money. But Jared Goff was not signed. His fifth-year option was extended, obviously. So he's playing on his fourth year now. Then he'll have his fifth year next year. He can get money at any point in time now, any day now. So he's in limbo. He's sort of the Rams are sort of letting him play this out. Maybe we don't know how long that'll happen. Maybe he gets money next week. Maybe he gets it in the middle of the season. I don't know. But we've talked about it a lot. That's really one to watch because the Rams have done a lot of things differently, and this could be, the one thing they really do differently if they don't decide to pay Jared Goff.
The next tier is contract questions after 2019.
Look at that list.
And these are
guys who could be cut or traded, essentially.
Here we go. Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, who has made, that guy's an ATM. That's incredible how much money he's made. Andrew Luck, who's only 29, which
but the injuries
hard to believe, right? Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Cam Newton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
The most intriguing ones to me there are Stafford, Luck, and Newton.
Sure.
I mean, and Carr and Garoppolo, jury's out on them too. I mean, these are all the juries. I mean, I can't picture Cam Newton not being in Carolina.
But I can picture Matthew Stafford not being in Detroit. He's really interesting. We've talked a little bit about Matthew Stafford. He's been paid way more than his production would arguably warrant. He's put up big numbers, but not a lot of wins.
Yep.
At some point, they're going to move on from him.
Yes.
At some point, Detroit, the people of the Lions are going to say, look, where have we gotten with him? Where are we going with him or without him? And they're going to move on. And I think there'll be teams falling all over themselves to sign him once he hits the market. Maybe for the same erroneous reasons that we just talked about with the Lions. But, there's a guy that I'm sure there are teams out there who think if I can put a better team around him than has ever been in Detroit, that guy can be a playoff caliber quarterback for me. And I'm not sure that isn't true, but you got a little bit of a faith in a debate like that.
He had Megatron, he had Ebron early in his career. They just could never run the ball.
If Johnson stays, they win, right? They win something.
I think so.
Probably.
The NFC at least, right? I mean
At some point.
that was a dynamic duo.
Right.
Let me put this in here because next year they're going to have to trade Matthew Stafford next year because the release still from a dead cap perspective, the release is still not tenable. So it would be an off-season trade for Matthew Stafford. Let me put a name in your a team in your heads here.
I have two, but go ahead.
I really like the Chargers for Matthew Stafford.
That wasn't the team.
He's just he seems like a reincarnation of Phillip Rivers to me, Matthew Stafford, and I don't know that Rivers wants to play much longer. It just doesn't seem like it. He's a heck of a quarterback. I think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but it just seems like maybe he's not going to be one of those guys that pushes into the 40s. I think maybe he pulls the string on his career quicker than some of the other guys, and I wonder if that's a team who wants to rebuild on the fly, and Matthew Stafford just sort of fits their model.
There was a team I was going to mention whose quarterback comes in the next tier. He's playing for extension eligibility. I was thinking Tampa.
Sure. Tampa's going to be all in on somebody.
You know who's intriguing on me on this list is Dalton. For a lot of the same reasons with Stafford. He's had some success. He's been good, never great, put up good numbers, has led his team to some level of success. But you wonder if there's just a thinking that, look, this is what we know we're going to get out of Andy Dalton. We want to be better. We want more. You've got a young, forward-thinking, offensive-minded coach there now. I would suspect if Dalton, and like you said, I don't think the Bengals are going to be all that good this year. That seems like a natural splitting point for me. What would be interesting to see is what's the market for an Andy Dalton. Does he get a starting job next year on the market, or does he have to go in somewhere as a backup quarterback and kind of fight his way back to being a starting quarterback? I think Andy Dalton's a really good quarterback. I've enjoyed watching him over the years. I think he's really good. Great, no, but he's in that 8 to 15 ranking if you want to do it for quarterbacks. You could do a lot worse than that. But it'll be interesting to see where that all goes.
Andy Dalton, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but Andy Dalton just seems like the kind of guy that the Patriots were bringing for 3 years to sort of manage that roster, right, and transition away from Brady whenever that's going to happen. He's only 31 years old. That's 11 years younger than their current quarterback. You know what I mean? If you think about it like that, wow. My goodness. Another team, by the way, one more team from Matthew Stafford, and we saw it last night, Denver Broncos.
Sure.
That is a Denver Broncos quarterback right there, Matthew Stafford. So, and who knows where they're going to be. Joe Flacco can fall off that roster at any point after 2019. Nothing's guaranteed for Joe Flacco.
Playing for extension eligibility, Dak Prescott, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota.
Maybe.
Yeah, you have Eli Manning. Okay. Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers.
So these are the guys.
Drew Brees, Brady, and Case Keenum.
Yeah. What are you doing with those?
All right. I'll
this
tell you what I'm
season
doing.
will tell the story with almost all of them.
Dak Prescott
gets money.
Dak gets money. Jameis Winston, boy, he's got to have a monster
People
year.
think he's gonna. People really like him with this offense right now. Bruce
How
Arians'
good
offense.
are they, though? Yeah. How good is that team? And again, he might put up big numbers, but are they going to win a lot?
I think the defense is very, very, very poor. So I don't know how much they can manage, an actual W at the end of the game. But I think the offense might look really good.
I think it'd be interesting. Byron Leftwich is the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, there's a lot of things sort of clicking on that side of the ball. They've got 4 legitimate receiving options. I don't know that they have a running back, but they can probably get one.
Did you see the
Maybe one from
feature
Buffalo?
Feature on HBO Real Sports on Bruce Arians? Mm-hmm. Oh, you need to watch it.
Kind of a rehash of the one they had done a couple of years ago.
I missed this month, so I got to catch up.
They went, they did a feature on him in Arizona and kind of updated it here. And if you don't like Bruce Arians,
he's fun and he's a general, right?
But he how he grew up and
he coached under Bear Bryant.
Nice.
Yes. That's how far he goes back, and there's a lot of old school in here.
But when he played college football at Virginia Tech, he and his buddy were like the first mixed roommates, right, if you will.
Oh, cool.
And he's like, all the white teammates would come to me and say, "What's it like?" He goes, "What's it like what?" He goes, "Living with an African-American player." What are you talking about? It's the same as anything. I thought that was really cool. And he just there was just a story out that he told his coaching staff, if you miss your kids' games and stuff and you're here working, I will fire you. Go be with your family. Don't miss your kids' T-ball championship or stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Nice.
And he drinks bourbon, it seems. So
now we know why you like him. Eli Manning's another one of those interesting ones. I give him. I give it 5 to 6 games before he's gone out, and Jones.
This is his last year. This is his last year, right? Paul, the Giants. It might be his last year in the league. Right?
Paul, it's another team. You could just switch the name out Dolphins and put Giants in my opinion.
Sure.
Right? Because you're not winning with Eli or Daniel Jones.
Well,
even though Saquon's arguably the best weapon in football.
Yeah, there's some more talent on the Giants than there is on the Dolphins.
Who?
Well, you got the good tight end. Ingram is a really good tight end. You've got Barkley. They've invested highly in the offensive line. They've lost a lot of guys on defense, and frankly, I can't even give you one that comes to mind who is a star on their defense. But it just seems to me that there's a little more talent there is in Miami, and it's the same argument. You're going to start Eli, and you know what you're going to get, probably 6-10, or when do you make the move to the kid who might struggle for 3 or 4 weeks and then show you at the end of the year that he's ready to be the next guy?
We had this conversation last year with all of those first-year quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and I'm pretty sure you were all in on these guys got to play, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So why aren't you in on Daniel Jones? Eli Manning's going to make $11.5 million.
I think
that's
they have
money they don't have to spend.
completely screwed the whole Eli Manning thing up there. Going back 2 years ago when they were ready to bench him, and then all of a sudden the public backlash caused a reversal from the owner.
Why would you make it worse then?
I don't know. I got no answers for you.
You've already paid him $5.5 million. That's a nice parting gift.
Right.
Seriously. Just let him walk away from this.
He's living on his legacy of the Super Bowls.
Trade him to Indy.
New York. There's a different
Eli Manning's better than Jacoby Brissett.
Eli Manning in that's a great idea.
There you go.
All right, but hold on. Okay, but isn't there part of having Eli there?
Yeah, but how much does that really work?
Well,
the tutoring thing, I don't think it works at all.
I mean, he seems like a nice enough guy, and I'm sure Daniel Jones is enjoying watching Eli work. Right? And so there's something to that. But once the games start, you know what I mean?
I think it's totally overrated.
I couldn't tell you if it is or isn't because I haven't been.
Sure, and we don't know what kind
of
adjudicator.
And everybody's
he is.
different. Some guys
Correct.
are different. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy who embraces that role as a mentor, as a backup quarterback.
Sure.
Not all guys do.
Favre
Joe
didn't.
Flacco. I think there was some sense that Joe Flacco wasn't really all in on
Right.
teaching Lamar Jackson how to be the replacement for him.
Well, I'm not sure he could.
Not all guys are. So I
don't
think
teach
that's
him everything,
I think
you
that's
know?
a little bit of a dated and aged perception from a lot of fans that you got to have that veteran guy who can come off when the guy comes off the field and say, "Well, didn't you see the safety do this?" That's what coaches are for. The coaches do that.
Okay.
Again, I'm gonna draw it back to Kyler Murray, right? Like, shouldn't you play Daniel Jones right away? Because if he's Josh Rosen, you just move on.
Yes.
You just do it again.
Yeah.
You don't have
Right?
time to waste.
Why would you spend $11 million on Eli Manning when you could just do that?
Because I think there's always other factors that are involved. Right or wrong, there just are. Perception,
They're gonna give up-
fans,
they're gonna give up 40 points a
ownership,
game.
loyalty, all those things come into
They
play.
gutted their defense. They're going to give up 40 points a game. They gutted that defense because they were rebuilding for the quarterback that they got. But they're still going to play Eli Manning with Saquon Barkley.
Well, again, maybe
Daniel
for
Jones
three or
can
four,
hand off.
maybe for 3 or 4 games. When they start 1-4, but that'll
that's $11 million that they could have next year. That rolls over. If they release Eli Manning or trade him to Indy, they could roll over $11.5 million of cap next year.
Boy, wouldn't that be
To
an awesome?
rebuild your defense.
If that came out in the next week that they've traded Eli Manning to the Colts, wouldn't that be like the whoa moment
I can't
of the
stop
NFL
thinking about it now that I've
preseason?
said it. I can't stop thinking
I
about
think
it.
that's brilliant.
It would be, you know what? And what would be a better story if he can take him to a Super Bowl like his brother
Oh,
did,
my God.
right?
I mean, you've
come
got the
on.
name in that
Can he wear his
city.
brother-
you
Just
know?
stop the show right now.
Wait.
We can't do any better than this.
Would he?
No.
And would he wear Peyton's number?
He'd have to.
He'd have to.
He'd have to.
Come on.
That'd be pretty cool.
It'd be cool. Be very cool.
Oh, my God.
By the way, just because
Take
you
that,
mentioned
Stephen A.
Peyton,
Smith.
if anybody out there is a ESPN Plus subscriber, you got to go watch the Peyton's Places.
they are
things.
phenomenal.
They're awesome. They're amazing. They're so cool. The way he's
Yes.
great at it. The topics that they've chosen to touch on are some of the iconic things in NFL history, and
Yes.
the way he's done it has been really.
He knows
neat.
what
It's
to ask.
I completely recommend
I agree,
going to watch them.
All right, 6 quarterbacks that are locked in: Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, Nick Foles with Jacksonville, and Carson Wentz.
And that's just because of guaranteed money.
guaranteed cash.
New deals, lots of dead cap, which I've listed here on the website. This contractual tiers article is now live on SpotTrack.com, so you can figure that out and tell me what stinks about it on Twitter at SpotTrack.
By the way, on this list of quarterbacks, half are in their 20s. Half the starting quarterbacks
go.
in the NFL are in
So
their 20s.
we talked about
There you go.
it's a new wave coming that's already started, and it's only going to continue to come.
Yeah, now I'm including Luck in there. He's 29, but that in their 20s. So it is a young man's position. Unless you want to look at our cap fact when you have an injury and you want to bring somebody in. This was mentioned earlier. Hey, McCown's couch ought to be a show on ESPN Plus because that couch is worth $2 million
At least.
with the Eagles, right?
He made $10 million last year.
With the
with the
Jets,
Jets,
right?
To be Sam Darnold's mentor.
Which you say it's overrated, but it's worth $10 million.
Was it? did he really make Sam Darnold much better than Sam Darnold already is?
Who knows? He was there as a.
Don't you think he would have taken 5 though? I mean, come on. He would have taken 5.
Sure. Well, look
I
what he took.
I
there
think
a
it's
bidding
not.
war for
I think
Josh
it's not
McCown?
ironic that the general manager that gave him that money is no longer employed there.
Here, 11 teams that Josh McCown has been. This is
11.
Yes, this is reported $2 million guaranteed with the Eagles. This is what 3 more teams than Fitz has been.
No,
with?
well, the cool stat is whoever throws the first pass in a regular season game, Fitz or McCown becomes the first NFL quarterback in history to throw passes for 8 different teams.
That'll be Fitz. We think.
We think, yeah.
Right. Cardinals, Lions, Raiders, Dolphins, Panthers, 49ers, Bears, Bucks, Browns, Jets, and Eagles. You have to build another room for the jerseys.
51 million.
See, now, you could look at this one of 2 ways. You could look at it that he was good enough that a lot of teams wanted to sign him, or you could look at him that he was bad enough that a lot of teams wanted to get rid
Does
of
it
him.
matter?
No, it
there
doesn't.
is no better
Not
position.
in that role, it doesn't. Again, he hasn't started anywhere near the amount of games that Fitz has done because he's not good enough to be a starter, but that's what NFL backups are. And when the Eagles sort of panicked with the injuries, they're like, we need a guy who is been through the wars before, even if he hasn't won a lot of them. We need a guy, and get me a veteran guy, and that's what most of your NFL backups are. That's the Matt Schaubs of the world. That's who NFL backup quarterbacks are. They're washed out starters who were never really good enough to be really good starters.
They're Patriots' 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks.
Well,
that's what they are. I mean, that's just spread across the league.
Let's bring it to the companies. They're executive vice presidents who never considered presidents. But
groom your kids to be backup quarterbacks.
No kidding.
You know,
right?
Just enough weightlifting. And frankly, can throw 45 but not 50 yards.
And you have to have a couple. You go in. You have a couple of nice moments, so people talk about, hey, you know what? This guy could do something, right? Go in and win a couple of games. Life is good.
It's great.
It is great. And you make $51 million.
Talk about safety first.
Absolutely. All right. We close out the show.
Let me get one thing in here. We've opened up our NFL fantasy contest on SpotTrack.
Oh, that's right.
All right. If anyone who's done this before, you know how this works. It's the 32 player contest. You got to pick one player from each team. Okay.
That's hard. Trust me.
It's hard. It takes some time. This is not your grandmother's fantasy contest.
You can't go Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. You can't do it. You got to decide.
Lock yourself away for 4 hours at the office. Put some time into this. Yeah, you've got to get over $100 million. But obviously after that, you're trying to keep your cap as low as possible. But yeah, you got to pick a player from every team. So if you're picking Patrick Mahomes, you can't have Travis Kelce. And we're going to run this thing right through the start of the season, September 6th, I think. September 6th is going to be the start of the season. We'll lock it, whatever that Thursday is.
Thursday.
It's a 5th.
The 5th. Whatever that Thursday is, the first week of September, that's when we're going to shut this thing down, and then we'll run it through the whole NFL regular season.
Paul's fact-checking the calendar.
$500 in cash given away here.
September 5th. $500 cash.
$500 cash.
Sweet. We're ineligible, Paul, for it. $500 is not nearly the amount that Steph Curry has donated to launch a golf program at Howard University. But I think this is a cool story of a professional athlete going outside of his sport, although he's set himself up for golf to be his sport after he's done playing the NBA. He's competed on the Korn Ferry Tour. Mm-hmm. He competes in the celebrity contest. He has a show, Holy Moly, which I watched a few minutes of. Anyhow, well, I'm just, whatever. It works for him. Steph Curry, though, is helping start a golf program restarting it. They had it back in the 50s. Howard University, one of the historical black colleges in the United States, and he's donated a 7-figure amount over the next 6 years to help launch the program. As you can imagine, I say, wow, how much could it cost to launch a golf program? Well, you got scholarships that you have to worry about, staff, facilities,
travel,
equipment,
course rentals, and things like that.
I know Callaway is in as far as an equipment provider. Under Armour has to be for apparel, right?
Yeah.
So probably they get breaks on price on sort of that stuff, maybe at cost or if they're donating, whatever. This is a cool story to me.
By the way, it's boys and girls.
Yes,
so
both.
Which is really nice. That's
yes.
It's a great story.
Well, he'd have to do. Did you see the story?
Oh, the sneakers.
The sneaker story.
I showed my daughter about 11 times.
Awesome. This girl
Have
wrote.
you heard this, Paul?
No.
So this girl wrote to Steph Curry and Under Armour and said, "Hey, Steph Curry's my favorite basketball player. I want to buy his shoes, but why are your shoes only in boy sizes?
Yeah, there's no girl size.
There's no girl sizes for his shoes." And so Steph flew her out, to a game.
Well, first he took that back to Under Armour.
Yes, he went to Under Armour.
We got to fix this.
That's correct.
And they did. They fixed it. And then, go ahead.
He invited her to an All-Star game or just a regular game. I don't know, something.
I think it was one of the playoff games.
Yeah, it was something.
I think it was an NBA playoff game.
He went to Under Armour and says, "We have to change this."
Yeah.
And he thanked her for, bringing this to our attention, brought her to a game, and it was
launched
just really
his girls line.
Yes. Great story.
Yep.
Like where an athlete, listened to somebody and responded here. So, and what, some people are criticizing this?
Yeah, well, of course, because he makes $40 million a year and he only donated $1 million.
Right. But it's over several years.
What's he supposed to donate $10 million so they can build their own golf course? Like what?
He could have just kept the $1 million.
Yeah,
right.
That's my defense to that.
They want him to solve world hunger, I think.
Yeah.
Some folks.
They're probably now one of the most highly funded golf programs in all of college athletics.
Oklahoma State still, they got Ricky Fowler and other pros that have gone through there that give back. But
just another example that this is a good dude. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
That's
I
all.
just,
I mean,
He could have done this at Davidson.
By the way,
his alma mater.
He didn't even go to Howard. That's the other point of this.
Correct.
He's really got no affiliation with this. It's just somebody probably reached out, or he got caught. People wanted to attend there to play golf like they used to. And
Sure.
There's probably some story that came up, and he stepped in and helped out. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, I think it's a cool thing. And then the goal is to get alumni.
Yeah.
To help
Keep it
this
going.
program, keep it going. And then when the players, men and women, come through there, whether they go to become doctors, lawyers, whatever, insurance, or maybe a pro golfer comes out of Howard, that they help fund the program and bring it back. So kind of a cool thing there with an athlete using some of his resources to fund another sport.
What do you think his chances are post NBA?
Of playing?
Yeah. Is he kind of in the
golf?
like the Romo area where
Yeah.
he'll play the programs and things like that, but never really get on the tour?
Tony Romo,
Yeah.
and I worked the event, the Byron Nelson, where he got the sponsors exemption.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about controversy there. He's taking a spot from somebody, and which I get on one hand, but the other hand, there are plenty of avenues for players to secure spots.
Sure.
Right? The answer is play better. No, it actually is. If you play well enough, you get yourself in. And I think this was great because, number one, look at all the media attention it brought to have a Tony Romo, who, by the way, it was his home club, one of his home clubs, and he's a +1 handicap, right? Which means he's given a stroke to the course. The course isn't giving him a stroke. He's a +1. And he didn't make the cut.
Yeah, well,
so
plus 11 or something, right?
Right. So to me, this shows you how difficult it is to be a professional golfer. Just how good pro golfers are when a guy who's a club champion, right? +1s are usually the club I belong to. Our club champion 3 years in a row is a +1. I've beaten him stroke play twice over a 2-day period. I think he was sick. It doesn't matter, right? The guy's an unbelievable player. But a +1 going to compete in the pro tour has no chance. So anybody out there thinks they're good, you're not good.
Do you have, off the top of your head, who's the best non-golfer to compete? I mean, I know Jordan could play a little bit. It's definitely not Barkley.
Oh no! You're talking about
the guys who play in the pro-ams, like that. The Tahoe pro-ams are always some of the baseball pitchers. Rick Rhodes,
I know Smoltz was
Mark
good.
Mulder. Those guys are always the ones that are always at the top of the leaderboard on those.
Nobody
right?
really stands out though. They're all kind of.
I'll tell you who it is. Jeff Knox.
Oh yeah.
Do you know who Jeff Knox is?
Okay.
Jeff Knox is the guy who traditionally has been the marker at the Masters.
No kidding.
He's a member at Augusta National, and when they have an odd number, the first guy out on Saturday has played solo. They had Jeff Knox had been the guy who goes out and plays. And
That's awesome.
He beat Rory McIlroy.
What?
Yeah, the one Saturday, Rory was like the first guy off. He beat Rory. So I'll say Jeff Knox.
I like it.
Because he's.
Do you think in this current era that it is Romo? I mean, is Romo?
No, I'll. Boy.
Yeah.
He's been afforded a couple of exemptions to play.
I know Smoltz got killed.
Well, Smoltz qualified for the U.S. Open.
He got killed though.
Yes, but just qualifying was
that's
a
something.
feat in itself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Smoltz, Mark Mulder, has been a heck of a golfer.
All right.
Glavine was pretty good.
Former Met.
There's a Quinn, the golfer, Dan Quinn, the hockey player, Dan Quinn.
All right.
Was up there. So
good stuff.
And so was the guy from General Hospital. What the hell is his name?
Jack Wagner.
Jack Wagner.
Wow.
Was a hell
Scary
of a player.
that I'm the one who knew that.
All right.
Give
So
Paul more coffee.
But I'm going to go with Jeff Knox. I'm going with Jeff Knox, the guy who's the marker at the Masters. A lot of guys, before they play there for the first time, would ask to play with him because he knows the course better than anybody else and plays it so well. I'm trying to think who it was. Said they played a practice round with him and said it was remarkable. Just watch where he put the ball. You put it here so you can hit it there.
Who's taking it home next week?
Tour Championship. No one's picking Patrick Cantlay.
Nice.
Played great over
really
the
well
playoffs.
this weekend, didn't he?
He's coming in. You look at where it's at right there. I don't think there's any pressure on him because everybody's been looking at Justin Thomas, who has that 10 under lead. I'll say Cantlay or Koepka.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Seems safe, doesn't it?
Sticking your neck out there, picking Brooks Koepka to win a big golf event.
Koepka, though, starts 3 back.
Right.
It's interesting how they've done this.
No, I like it a lot.
The scores roll over. They're cumulative to the next match.
Basically, it's like NASCAR. You play for positioning for the final race.
Okay.
All right? Where they give you a head start on time. Well, this is where they give you a head start on score. So Justin Thomas, by winning the BMW Championship, became number 1 going into the Tour Championship. And therefore, he starts the tournament at 10 under par.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. And it works its way to 8 under, 7 under. So he's got a 2-stroke lead, right, going into it. The guys who finished 30th, Jason Kokrak, who makes a putt to get in. Mm-hmm. Like, you just that putt is worth a lot of money. Okay, it's not just the guy who finishes 1 who gets $15 million. The money works its way down, and you have tournament money on there. It's trust me, it's a big deal making the Tour Championship. Kokrak starts at even par.
Wow!
So he's got to make up 10 strokes, and he's got to pass 29 other guys to win.
Is 32 little? Too few?
No.
It's a good number?
I think it's a great number.
Yeah.
It's been a historic number. I think it puts the pressure on the 70 to make the 30.
Yeah.
There's so many storylines that go into it and guys who can play their way in and play their way out.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to do great. There's been an argument with golf in that the majors should be worth more than 600 points.
Sure.
If you win a tour event, it's worth 500. The World Golf Championships are 550 points, and majors are 600. There's been an argument make them worth 1,000. Or make them worth more because, winning a major, it makes your season.
Of course.
Yet it doesn't guarantee you getting to the Tour Championship. The argument is because of Tiger, the guy's a defending champion who finished 34th, who almost made it. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't diminish Tiger's season, in my opinion. He won the Masters, right?
That's all we need.
And
you're good with the scheduling? You're okay that we're finishing it off
I think the scheduling's great.
Yeah.
I think what they've done is fantastic. This event would have ended in September.
Yeah.
Second week of NFL.
I mean, if Tiger was in this thing, there'd be a lot of eyeballs on next weekend.
Yeah, there still will be.
I know, but I mean, you know what I mean. It would be a really big event because there's really nothing going on. I mean, there's scan around the sports news.
Right.
It's pretty bad right now.
But listen, they're owning the summer. They've got the big event in the summer, and every month there's been something, which is great. So, and they've added events in the fall. I think it's worked out. We'll see how. And Tiger even said, "We don't have it. We're trying to get it right. Mm-hmm. We'll see how this plays out." For people who are criticizing the format, he goes, "We'll see how it plays out." But last year, the issue was the guy who won the FedEx, Justin Rose, didn't win any playoff event.
He just showed up and won $10 million.
That's correct. he pointed himself to victory. Tiger wins the Tour Championship and doesn't win the FedEx Cup. They've set it up as enough. You win this tournament, you win the FedEx Cup. They've given guys a head starts.
It's good
to win the tournament. So, good. And if it doesn't work out right, if people don't like it, then I'm sure they'll tweak it. They're not standing still with it. All right, hey, make sure you check out the premium section of SpotTrack.com. Get in for the fantasy football draft. Try to win $500 cash, and also check out our friends at Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment. Especially if you're an athlete listening to the show, want to get some knowledge on what your next contract is going to be, what to do with that money. If you're an entertainer, like Jack Wagner, listening. Jack, call our friends at Morgan Stanley. MorganStanley.com/GSE. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. For Mike Giannetti and Paul Peck, I'm Kevin Sylvester. Thanks for listening to the Spot Track Podcast.